The NBA draft lottery is Tuesday, and with the ping pong balls rest the futures of at least 14 NBA teams. A high draft pick or the number 1 overall pick could irrevocably change a team and the league. A bad combination could mean the loss of a first-round pick and a seriously jeopardized future. There's nothing teams can do now to improve their chances at a better pick, but the need for luck to shine on them hasn't diminished at all. So, when it comes to the number 1 overall pick, which teams deserve that luck? We rank 14 Albanian Lex lottery teams to find the answer. Sacramento Kings, 0% chance at the first overall pick. The Kings can't land the first pick because the 76ers have the right to swap first-round picks with them this year. They do boast a 2.4% chance of landing a top 3 pick, though something they would deserve after making the bold decision to trade away Boogie Cousins for next to nothing. The ping-pong balls should smile upon their aggressiveness, but alas, bad general managing will trump luck every time. New Orleans Pelicans, 1.1% chance. The Pelicans already landed Cousins for next to nothing, and didn't make the playoffs. Combine a player like that with Anthony Davis and you should have more than what you need to land the number 8 seed in the Western Conference. Beyond that, if the Pelicans land in the top 3, they don't have to send a pick to the Kings. That's not fair. Minnesota Timberwolves, 5.3% chance. The Timberwolves already have 2 recent number 1 picks on their roster. A third number 1 pick would likely be used to pick a point guard, Markelle Fultz, which is a position of relative need for the team because of their flop pick of Chris Dunn. Giving the Timberwolves a number 1 pick would be a clear sign that the universe, or the league, wants to undercut the established powers in the Western Conference. Is that a terrible thing? Not at all. But the NBA doesn't have to be so obvious about it. The Wolves have the talent already, they'll get there eventually. New York Knicks, 5.3% chance. You can't give the Knicks anything beautiful, they'd ruin it. Charlotte Hornets, 0.8% chance. The Hornets don't need a point guard like Fultz, they have the somehow still underrated Kemba Walker. So while a high draft pick would be a nice way for them to get back into the postseason after a big regression last year, they should not land the number 1 overall pick. A top 10 pick in a deep draft would be totally acceptable though. Detroit Pistons, 0.7% chance. We don't need anything getting in the way of the Andre Drummond slander tour of 2017-18. Landing Fultz, or Ball, would bring about the end of the Reggie Jackson era and bring optimism back to a Detroit team that has stalled out. These are reasons against the Pistons landing the first pick. It's their own fault they're in the lottery this year. Los Angeles Lakers, 15.6% chance. Deep breath. The Lakers have lucked out for the last 2 years, keeping their protected first-round picks, top 3, to select D'Angelo Russell and Brandon Ingram at number 2 in back-to-back years. If they fall out of the top 3 this season, they lose that first-round pick outright. While that might be extreme to wish, a bad team fails to land a first-round pick, the Lakers have been pretending as if they're guaranteed to get a pick that will select Lonzo Ball when in fact they have a less than 50% chance at a top 3 pick and a less than 1/3 chance of landing one of the top 2 picks, which would presumably put them in position to draft the UCLA product. That said, they did some reverse tanking at the end of the season, winning 5 of their last 6 games for no logical reason. They might deserve a break because of that determination. Let them have the number 3 pick. They don't lose their first-round pick, but they don't get their guy. Orlando Magic, 8.8% chance. The Magic could really use a star, but landing the first overall pick could pose some serious problems to the team's new general manager, whoever that might be. The team already has a point guard in Elfrid Payton. Whether he's worth considering a franchise cornerstone is worthy of exploration, but he's one of the team's best players for now, and the team doesn't need any more hybrids who can shoot, which takes out Josh Jackson from consideration. Essentially, the logical pick for the Magic, if they have a high selection, is Jason Tatum. They don't need number 1 to pick him, so they shouldn't land it. Denver Nuggets, 0.6% chance. The Nuggets are going for it, and they are pretty exciting to watch with the emergence of Nikola Jokic. The Nuggets have never selected number 1 or number 2 in the NBA draft either. There's a lot going for them in terms of karma. On the flip side, the Nuggets saw Jokic go from the 41st overall pick into a fringe All-NBA caliber player, looked to have a nice core with Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, and they haven't come close to uncapping Emmanuel Mudiay's potential. The Nuggets don't need to cash in any chips this year with 2 point guards at the top of the draft, but a top 5 selection could go a long way for this team. Philadelphia 76ers, 14.7% chance. Back-to-back number 1 picks. It's not too ridiculous the Sixers' luck hasn't evened out after the process didn't bear fruit during Sam Hinkie's era of employment in Philadelphia. Add in the injuries to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. At what point are we going to look at the Sixers for some culpability there? And you can make the case that Philadelphia is deserving of a player like Fultz. That said, Philly already has their star in Embiid and perhaps two if Simmons develops. Do they really need another number 1 pick to eventually be competitive? Is there any part of the process that shares the wealth? Miami Heat, 0.5% chance. The Heat picked up a bad hand this year. Dwayne Wade, scorned by Pat Riley's perceived ambivalence and lack of loyalty, bolted for Chicago, ending one of the great one-team careers in recent NBA history. The team didn't see Chris Bosh return to the court, their dream of landing a big-time free agent in this year or next, like Russell Westbrook, appears to be dashed. And then after a totally improbable run towards the postseason, they saw the Nets rest all of their players on the final day of the season. For what? Handing the Bulls the win they needed to secure the number 8 seed over Miami. Adding a young star to the mix in Miami would be great for the league, as it would create another competitor to LeBron and Cleveland in the near future, and that star is unlikely to come via free agency. Miami could really use a top 3 pick, but at 1.8% chance of landing one of those, there's probably not enough karma in the world to overcome those odds. The team is still paying off those 4 glorious LeBron James years, and will for the next half decade at least. Boston Celtics, 25% chance. This is a tough one because the Celtics are in the Eastern Conference Finals and have already reaped plenty of benefit from one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history. Adding the number 1 overall pick would be overkill, right? But who else in the Eastern Conference is going to take down LeBron? There would be a beauty to the Celtics getting the number 1 overall pick because it would add intrigue to an Eastern Conference race that was sandbagged by the Caves this season without remorse or repercussion. That said, should the Celtics be rewarded for holding on to assets that could have been used to trade for Jimmy Butler or Paul George, players that could have made this year's Eastern Conference interesting? Giving the Celtics the number 1 overall pick and a young point guard would just reward the team for deciding LeBron was too hard to beat this season. This is a tough one to call. It's the Rorschach test of the lottery. Ultimately, the chaos that could come from Boston landing Fultz, or Ball, or Tatum, and perhaps a big-time free agent this summer, Gordon Hayward, anyone? Is too enticing to wish upon. Let's root for chaos. Phoenix Suns, 19% chance. How much bad karma can a team bring about by unabashedly tanking for the second half of the season, save for a late-in-the-year game against the Warriors? We're about to find out. The Suns would be number 1 on this list, as they need the direction a clear-cut star, or star to be, can bring in. They could stand to compete for a playoff spot by 2020. But losing 15 of 16 down the stretch is a bad look. We won't ask for a demise, but they can't be the favorites either. Frankly, it's getting too sad. Dallas Mavericks, 1.7% chance. The Mavericks have a 6.1% chance at landing a top 3 pick, and that's something we should all be rooting for Tuesday, as the Mavericks rebuilt on the fly without tanking and have a legend entering his last year who should exit with the team in an optimistic place. The playoffs? The Mavericks are a team that would pay to put talent around a young star too, so there's no reason to fear that they would squander a great opportunity either. Let the Mavs have this one. It's good for the league.